Hello again, it's Mr. RG Stuff in the workshop. Now I've probably given away what this is in the title of this video or maybe in the thumbnail, but I thought, well, it'd be fun to open it on camera anyway, so let's go ahead and do that. It says do not bend in big writing, and I've removed all the other sort of labels obviously. Yes, it's really quite well wrapped as far as tape is concerned. Let's hope it wasn't bent. So what have we got here? Okay, so this is a 3D printer T8 500mm stainless steel lead screw, coupling shaft and mounting supports. And this is a fairly standard item you can buy online, although I bought this from I think a private individual, so presumably they had a spare. Maybe they bought a load for a project and had one left over. But I thought it was worth picking up because it was quite cheap. Even at the sort of normal prices, they're not particularly expensive. And the reason I bought this was that way back when I first had my my DIY cylinder phonograph working, it was very noisy. The tone arm carriage was very noisy, and I was thinking, well, maybe my very cheap DIY store threaded rod wasn't up to it, and I was going to need to use something a bit more professional. As it happened, I've mainly solved that issue by playing around with the stepper driver, but I'd already ordered this, so let's have a look and see what we've got. Now the threaded rod on that cylinder phonograph is actually a bit bent. I mean, it is just the cheap stuff out of the DIY store. Is this stuff any better? I mean, well, it's got a bit of a bend. I mean, I don't think it's disastrous. But there is a bit of a bend to that, or else it would roll more smoothly. Let's try the nut on. Well, it's fairly smooth. We've got the coupler here. And this is to go from here to the stepper motor. This is all completely standard 3D printer type stuff, so this is got a certain amount of give, so things don't have to be lined up perfectly and it should still work. I mean, I'm using sort of rubber or plastic piping to achieve the same effect. And we've got a couple of bearing blocks. Sort of like so. That's interesting. Just notice there are little set screws. If I take this off again, there are little set screws actually on the bearing, so actually you can clamp the bearing to it. That's quite nice. So yeah, I'm going to mount this up on some wood, and I'm going to put a stepper motor on it and try driving it back and forth and see what it sounds like. And I may use it on my DIY cylinder phonograph, but I have a few other ideas, or at least one other idea to how to improve the drive on that. And I may not need this, I may save this for another project, but to be honest, at this point in time I just don't know. I need to see how this works and just how bent that rod is, and see what to do next. Right, well, it's mounted up on this piece of kitchen work surface here. I've used some tap washers and ordinary washers and rubber washers just to bring it up to the same height as this Nema 17 motor. This is out of my Omrod 2 3D printer, which is currently out of service and may well be out of service permanently. What else? I have obviously tightened up the grub screws on this adapter here, and I haven't tightened the grub screws up on the ones on the bearings. They just don't seem to need to be tightened up, they seem to spin of their own accord. When I first fitted this, this brass nut here just wouldn't go further than about here. There was some roughness on the thread, very slight roughness, but I took that off with a small file. Didn't seem to be a problem there, and now it goes on it turns quite smoothly. Electronics wise, I'm using one of the boards just like in my DIY cylinder phonograph. I made another one up, and I've got an Arduino Nano in, which is why you may have noted in a previous video I had to solder up another one of these. This isn't actually the one that I soldered up in this video, but it's just the same. And I'm using an A4988 stepper driver there, which is the sort of cheap noisy one. And if I run it now, you'll see exactly what I mean. So that's the sort of slow speed. That's the faster speed there, and it really is quite noisy. There's a lot of vibration. This is just sort of single stepping. It does move quite smoothly along though. If I hold on to the nut, it does actually get dragged along without any issues. There's no sort of pulling from side to side like I get on the threaded rod on the cylinder phonograph. So I think this is just a better quality screw thread. Just stop that there for a moment. I probably can improve the one on the cylinder phonograph by running a die along the threaded rod, and I might try to do that anyway. I'll move on now to fitting a TMC2208 in there and see what that's like. Okay, so the TMC2208 is in. It's just there. I've just tweaked the code very slightly. It's going to be like the DIY cylinder phonograph, so basically it will move slowly in this direction, and then the reverse will be faster. So if we just set it going forward, if I just hold on to the nut, you can see that it just moves very slowly forward. There is a little bit of a squeak, but that's because the nut and the rod don't have any grease or oil on them. The actual sound of the motor and the bearings is actually almost silent. And if I reverse it, it's a little bit noisier and you can hear the squeak a bit more. But it's still very smooth. It's actually very good, I think. And the warp in the rod that I thought I detected when I first rolled it after getting it out of the packet, I'm not seeing any sign of that whatsoever. There's no indication whatsoever that the rod is bent. So I think that's probably just fine. So the question now is whether I use it on the cylinder phonograph or whether I use it on another project. But I'll be very interested to hear your opinions in the comments. But otherwise, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and if you have enjoyed this video, please subscribe to Mr. Archie's Stuff. Thank you.